Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
On the edge of an ashen precipice, the sky above was hauntingly beautiful. The dual suns dipped below the horizon, casting a blood-red hue across the remains of the alien city below, a place once alive with grandeur, but now echoing only the whispers of its lost civilization. This was Meridia, a planet steeped in ancient lore and tainted by the remnants of battle, a battleground where the strong thrived and the weak were cast aside. Kaylee stood at the cliff's edge, the cool wind tousling her silvery hair, her heart pounding in her chest. For a fleeting moment, she felt free, suspended between the world that had betrayed her and the abyss that promised an escape. She had been thrown from this very ledge, her frail body spiraling downward as her peers laughed, a customary rite of passage designed to break the weak. They ridiculed her, labeling her as an outcast among their kind, but she was not broken. She had survived. 15 years had passed since that fateful day, years filled with struggle, isolation, and a relentless battle against adversity. Kaylee had learned to harness her unique abilities, a gift from her forebears that allowed her to heal at an accelerated rate and endowed her with strength far beyond that of standard civilians of her race. But with these gifts came the burden of hope, a twinkling flicker within her that refused to be extinguished. As the colors of sunset faded into a velvety twilight, she surveyed her surroundings, the rusting remnants of technology half buried in the ground, the crumbling walls speaking to the glory that once adorned this place. She had grown strong amidst the wreckage, but strength was a lonely companion, and she longed for connection, a reminder of the warmth she had once known but had been denied. Just beyond the cliff, the sound of an engine rumbled, breaking the silence that enveloped her. A spaceship, a hulking mass of metal and faded paint, crashed into the outskirts of the city, sending tremors through the ground. Curiosity piqued her interest. It might contain remnants of knowledge that could provide an escape from this haunted existence. In a cloak of shadow, Kaylee sped towards the wreck, her agile form darting between trees and ruins, an eluding specter in the night. As she drew closer, the sight sharpened into focus, a human figure silhouetted against the wreckage, silhouetted in the remaining glow of the ship's dying light. Evan. He was a soldier of Earth, a weary traveler burdened by the weight of his experiences. He stepped down from the wrecked ship, the tired lines etched into his face, telling unspoken stories of loss and guilt. As their eyes locked, electric tension sparked between them, a common connection forged in survival and unyielding pain. Instinctively, Kaylee hid behind a fallen column, her heart racing. Humans often came to this planet as conquerors, yet this one bore a look of desperation rather than malice. She felt a pull to understand this alien amidst her own. Would he be a source of harm, like others before him? Or could he possibly be the ally she had yearned for in the shadows of her loneliness? The choices of the past weighed heavily on the shoulders of both, but destiny awaited them, and the cliff that had once severed belief from reality would soon bridge the gap between two worlds. Shrouded in the remnants of the fallen spaceship, Kaylee stayed hidden, observing the human soldier sift through the debris with purpose and urgency. She could hear him muttering to himself, the cadence of his voice a mix of frustration and desperation. As he rummaged through the remnants, she couldn't help but wonder what brought him to this forsaken part of the galaxy. Every fiber of her being urged her to step forward, yet she lingered in the shadows, a silent ghost, trapped between the urge to flee and the longing for connection. In this moment, she introspected on the journey that had brought her here, at the threshold of potential collaboration with a being she had been taught to view with suspicion. The past 15 years unfolded in her mind like a hallucination, the faces of her peers, twisted in contempt, the laughter that echoed in her ears, the cold feeling of dirt against her skin as she woke from that fall, knowing she had narrowly escaped death. They thought she wouldn't survive. They had presumed she would give up, a wolf cast out from its den. But here she was, a testament to resilience, yet the cost of survival weighed heavily upon her. In the days following the betrayal, Kaylee had ventured deep into the wilderness of Meridia. She stumbled upon the residual remains of a once thriving civilization, a paradise now reduced to ashes. She learned to harness her violent anger against her peers into self-preservation, developing keen instincts that turned her solitude into a game of survival. She hunted, scavenged for technological remnants, and sought to unlock the secrets of those who had abandoned her. Each fragment discovered was a piece of her past she could reclaim. An engine here, a holographic device there, grasping at straws of hope even when despair loomed at every turn. When she finally couldn't stand the longing for companionship any longer, she returned to the city ruins, always in the shadows, watching as others lived their lives, oblivious to her existence. She felt like a phantom, a specter of regret who had learned how to survive amidst derision. Evan, on the other hand, seemed different. There was a depth to his gaze, one that mirrored the weight upon her heart. He pulled out a small device, a scanner, serving as a reminder of the world he belonged to. The sight of his worldly belongings sparked a buried curiosity within her. What was the history that lay behind his weary eyes? But she hesitated still, an instinctual wariness rooted deep within her. Humans had often treated her kind as mere subjects, worthy of disdain rather than solidarity. What if he was merely a conqueror masked by vulnerability, a harbinger of more betrayal? However, as Evan muttered to himself in frustration, a sharp cry washed through the air. The distressing sound shattered the moment, compelling Kaylee's instincts to kick in. Hostile forces lurked among the shadows, the old antagonistic factions who had faced off against Evan's kind previously. They sniffed the air and traipsed closer, sensing that intruders were among their remnants. In that heart-stopping moment, Kaylee knew what she must do. She was not just a survivor. She had evolved. She had the strength to protect herself and another, even a human. A small flame of courage ignited within her, and she stepped forward from the sanctuary of the abandoned machinery, ready to confront whatever danger lay in wait. As the cries echoed through the twilight, electric tension sparked and the scent of danger became palpable. Kaylee felt the surge of her heartbeat quicken. The vibrant energy of her survival instincts flooded her veins. Without thinking, she moved instinctively toward Evan, the presence of the imminent threat pushing her forward. Emerging from her hidden sanctum, she let the darkness rally around her as she approached the human, her feet barely making a sound on the jagged stones scattered across the ground. Evan's back was turned, his attention consumed by the wreckage. The shadows shifted as shadows emerged on the periphery, the low growls and angry shouts of nearby hunters breaking through the stillness of the ruins. "Behind you!" Kaylee called, her voice slicing through the air, raw and urgent. Evan turned, eyes widening as recognition dawned. He had just enough time to comprehend the warning before the first assailant launched itself at him, wild-eyed and frenzied. Kaylee leapt, instinctively throwing herself into the fray, her reflexes a result of years spent honing her body and mind for survival. With one swift movement, she tackled the assailant, their bodies crashing into the ground in a whirl of fur and limbs. Kaylee drew on every reserve of strength, her alien form allowing her to wrestle with supernatural speed. The creature clawed at her, but she was fueled by the desire to survive, a fire ignited by years of betrayal and loneliness. With a ferocious shove, she threw him off, regaining her footing. Evan stood frozen for a split second, astonishment etched on his features. Then adrenaline kicked in, propelling him forward. He had seen countless battles, but now he found himself amidst this manic whirlwind, and for the first time, he realized he wasn't alone. Together, they fought back to back, instinctively covering each other's blind spots. As Kaylee took down another attacker with a practiced swing of her arm, Evan swung a fallen piece of debris, knocking another foe senseless. The chaotic dance of survival brought them closer, kindling a connection forged in the fires of fear and shared danger. When the last of the attackers fell, panting and battered, a heavy silence enveloped the ruins. Kaylee turned to Evan, her chest rising and falling rapidly, his intense gaze meeting hers, their breath mingling in the cool night air. "Who are you?" he asked, bewilderment still clinging to his voice. "What are you?" "I'm Kaylee," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm just an outcast." "An outcast," he repeated, glancing back at the fallen assailants sprawled across the ground. "You saved me." The realization hung between them, a thread woven from the fabric of their fates. Staring into his deep brown eyes, she felt something shift, a possibility igniting within. "I thought you were just another human," she murmured, her defenses lowering, revealing hints of vulnerability. "One who sought to conquer." Evan shook his head, confusion still swirling within him. "I'm not here to conquer anything. I'm trying to find a way to make things right. I was chasing an enemy that hides in this maze of ruins." "Not all humans are our enemies," she said softly, a flicker of hope igniting within her. Could he truly become different from the others? A sudden clang echoed through the air, and the shadows around them rustled as more figures began to emerge, their intent malicious. Kaylee's heart raced, and she gripped Evan's arm, ready for what lay ahead. "We need to go together," she urged, her instincts roaring to life. In that moment, they both understood that their survival was linked by more than just the present danger. They now shared a bond that transcended their respective worlds. As they began to flee through the ruined landscape of Meridia, they were no longer simply a human and an alien girl. They were allies against a common enemy, navigating the verge between two cultures that had long been at odds. The darkened pathways of the ruins seemed endless as Kaylee's and Evan navigated through the debris, adrenaline propelling them forward. Each step echoed in the silence of the desolate city, the remnants of a lost civilization whispering its secrets as they skated past crumbling structures and twisted metal. "Where do we go from here?" Evan asked, his voice low and urgent. Kaylee's glanced back, her mind racing. They needed to find a place to hide, somewhere they could catch their breaths and plan their next move. "There's an old shelter a few blocks up," Kaylee's replied. "It's hidden well. I used to go there sometimes when I needed to escape." She led the way, her instincts guiding her like a compass through the labyrinth of ruin. As they approached the shelter, a dilapidated building partially covered in creeping vines, Kaylee's felt uncertainty wash over her. Would this place truly be safe? She hesitated before entering, memories flooding back of moments spent hiding from the world, moments of solitude that had become comforting yet suffocating. Evan took the lead, entering the shelter first. The dim light filtering through the cracks illuminated dust motes dancing in the air. Kaylee's followed cautiously, feeling the weight of his presence as he surveyed the room. He examined the remnants strewn about, broken furniture, shattered screens, and whispers of past lives. "It hasn't been disturbed in a while," he murmured. "We should be safe here, at least for now." As they settled into a corner of the shelter, the gravity of what they just faced began to linger in the air between them. Kaylee's took a deep breath, searching for the words to bridge their divergent worlds. "What about you, Evan? What's a human soldier doing on Meridia?" she finally asked, her voice breaking the tension that lingered. He leaned back against the wall, his expression darkening. "I'm in a fight against the remnants of a regime that exploited this planet for resources, leaving chaos in its wake. I had friends among them once. I was part of a mission to dismantle their operations, but things went astray." His gaze drifted, lost in the shadowy memories. Kaylee's listened intently, intrigued. "You're different from the others. They see us as something to be conquered, to dominate. But you seem different." Evan turned his head, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. "I didn't come here to conquer. I came seeking help, to rectify the mistakes of my past." "Help," she scoffed, the cracks of her past creeping into her voice. "What could a human possibly offer someone like me? You've been conditioned to believe we are unworthy of your trust." "Trust is built, not assumed," he stated firmly, his eyes locking onto hers. "You saved me. That means something." Kaylee's bit her lip, unease rising. "That was out of instinct, nothing more. I've spent years protecting myself from your kind. We've been taught to distrust you because of what you were made to experience," he interjected softly, his eyes searching for understanding. "But I want to learn. I want to understand you, Kaylee's. Not just as an alien, but as a person. There's something about you." As the air thickened with tension, Kaylee's felt a stirring deep within her, something long buried by her pain. It was unfamiliar, a spark of connection birthed in the shared adversity of their plight. But the past loomed like a specter, and she hesitated. "You don't know what it's like to have everything ripped away from you." "Then tell me," he urged. "Everything you've endured, Let me in. A choice loomed before her, a chance to open herself up. She took a shaky breath, recalling the pain that haunted her. 15 years ago, I was thrown off a cliff by my peers. They said I wasn't worthy. I survived, yes, but I spent years isolated, learning to fend for myself while they thrived. I've learned how to survive. I've learned the rules of this world. But trust? That's a luxury I can't afford. Evan listened, his heart heavy with empathy. He wanted to break that wall surrounding her heart, to draw her closer instead of deeper into the abyss of solitude. Trust may seem distant, he finally said softly, but sometimes it's what we need to truly survive. The sincerity in his voice resonated within her. In that moment, Kayleigh felt a shard of hope piercing the darkness that had settled within her for so long. The fragments of their worlds, so vastly different yet connected through shared struggles, began to form an unsteady alliance. As the shadows grew long outside, they sat in the shelter, two unlikely souls converging in a world filled with chaos and uncertainty. Together, they would navigate the storm ahead, battling old ghosts and forging a path toward a future that might still hold a glimmer of light. The silence of the shelter enveloped them like a protective shroud, but it was the kind of silence that buzzed with the unspoken tension of uncertainty. Outside, the winds howled, rustling the remnants of steel and stone, while shadows danced eerily against the walls. Kayleigh and Evan sat in that half-lit room, their hearts racing not just from the rush of their earlier confrontation, but from the growing connection forming between them. Kayleigh broke the heavy silence, her voice steady yet soft. "We can't stay here for long. They'll be back." The mention of their enemies hung thick in the air, a reminder that danger lurked just outside their sanctuary. Evan nodded, already piecing together the fragments of their next steps. "You mentioned knowing this area well. What's your plan?" Kayleigh hesitated for a moment, weighing her words with care. For years, she had only planned for survival. Now she found herself seeking something more, something that demanded collaboration. "There's a hidden entrance to an underground network close by. It leads to the old, dilapidated sections of the city, often overlooked and forgotten. We could use that to regroup and evade the hunters." Evan's brow furrowed as he considered her suggestion. "Underground it might just work, but we need to ensure we're not followed. We have to be prepared." Her eyes met his, and within that gaze, a silent communication transpired. They shared the weight of past wounds and burdens, yet both stood on the brink of something new and terrifying. It was an unusual feeling, one of mutual dependence born from necessity, respect, and the flickering flame of understanding. "Let's gather supplies," Kayleigh suggested. "We should fortify ourselves before we go." Evan took a deep breath and nodded. "I'll check for weapons and anything useful in this area. Food, tools, anything we can use to defend ourselves." He glanced around, a determination evident in his demeanor. "You can scout for a route to the entrance." Kayleigh smiled, gratitude flooding her veins. "Thank you." It was a small gesture, but one that dissolved the last remnants of fear twisting in her gut. For once, she felt trusted and useful. They split, each venturing deeper into the shelter's remaining corners. Kayleigh explored with practiced caution, her instincts finely tuned to the sound surrounding her. She rummaged through scraps, gathering bits of technology she'd come to recognize in the dark shadows of solitude. A small energy pack here, a broken communication device there, each retrieval fueling a flickering hope within her. When they reconvened, Evan held a few makeshift weapons, a metal rod, debris sharpened to a point, and a small pouch of rationed food. She handed him the items she had collected, and as their fingers brushed, a spark of warmth ignited in her chest. As they prepared to leave, Kayleigh caught a glimpse of Evan's expression as he gazed at her, a mix of admiration and wonder. She felt a blush rise to her cheeks and quickly averted her gaze. "Are you ready?" Evan asked, breaking the tension as he reached for the entrance to the outside world. Kayleigh nodded, her heart racing. "Lead the way." They stepped out into the dusk, the air cold and crisp against their skin. The world outside was painted in hues of blue and gray, looming shadows settling in like predators waiting to pounce. Yet, with each step they took, Kaylee's felt fear mingling with hope. The journey ahead was fraught with challenges, but also with promise. She was not alone anymore. Together, they formed a peculiar unit, the weary soldier and the outcast, illuminated by the dim glow of trust. As they maneuvered through the crumbling alleys, the distant growls and hostile calls echoed, each rustle of wind a looming reminder of threats hidden along the way. Yet, hand in hand, they pressed forward. Each passing moment strengthened their bond, urging them to face whatever horrors lay ahead. Soon they found the hidden entrance, a worn door at the base of a rock wall, half submerged in brambles and vines. Kaylee's pushed the door open, revealing a dark passageway leading down into the unknown. "We'll be safe for a while down there," she whispered, glancing back at Evan, who nodded in agreement. And as they descended into the depths, leaving the echoes of the outside world behind, Kaylee's felt an unfamiliar flicker of hope blossom within her, a realization that together they had the strength to confront not only those who sought to harm them, but also the emotional barriers they had both built to protect their hearts. Together, they were stronger, two lost souls forging a new path amidst chaos, darkness, and the flickering chance for redemption. As Kaylee's and Evan descended into the hidden tunnel, the world above faded into darkness, swallowed by the cool embrace of the subterranean passage. The air grew musty and stale, echoing the silence that enveloped them like a thick blanket. Kaylee's flicked on a small handheld light, casting beams against the damp stone walls, illuminating swirling patterns of ages past. "Stay close," she whispered, the vulnerability of their situation weighing heavily on her heart. Every creak and groan of the stone felt magnified in the darkness, and she could sense unanswered fears lurking just beyond the reach of her light. Their footsteps echoed as they ventured deeper into the network of tunnels. The path narrowed, winding them through a maze of forgotten corridors adorned with relics of the past. Faded murals depicting the glory of an ancient civilization, now reduced to mere ghosts. Kaylee's felt the weight of history. It reminded her of everything her people had lost, a hauntingly beautiful reminder of a time before betrayal. Evan kept pace beside her, glancing at the artwork with a frown. "What happened here?" he asked quietly, using his own light to scan the walls. "A division. A war." Kaylee's replied, bitterness creeping into her tone. "Greed and distrust took our homes, and now we're left trying to survive amidst the ruins." She paused, the memories of her childhood flaring up again, a vision of laughter that quickly turned sour. People used to celebrate the importance of community, but that's all gone now. Evan looked at her, compassion etched on his face. "We're not so different, you know. Earth is teetering on the edge of its own conflicts. There are those who exploit differences for power and advantage." A flicker of understanding passed between them, forging an unspoken bond through their shared experience of loss and struggle. As they continued deeper into the tunnels, the air thick with dust and tension, Kaylee suddenly froze. A low rumble vibrated through the ground, followed by the sound of clattering rocks, a warning. "What was that?" Evan hissed, his eyes widening with concern. Kaylee could feel her heartbeat quicken. The noise wasn't just a rumble. It was a warning of something far more sinister. "We need to move quickly," she urged, turning instinctively toward a side passage. They hurried down the corridor, adrenaline fueling their speed. But the world around them barely let them breathe. Shadows flinched and darted, a conversation echoing in the darkness as Kaylee's instincts flared. Just as they rounded another bend, a flash of light flickered ahead. A group of hostile beings, their figures cloaked in shadows and edged with menace. "They're here," Kaylee's hissed, panic rising in her chest. "We can't go any further." Evan glanced back. "Can we backtrack? There might still be another exit." "Not fast enough," she said, cutting him off. Her mind raced, the drive for survival merging with an undeniable resolve. "We have to confront them. Together." The shadows approached, voices echoing in the tunnel, each word dripping with hostility. Kaylee's gripped the weapon she had fashioned, a sharpened piece of metal, hoping it would lend her the courage she needed. "On three," Evan whispered, determination etched on his face. "1, 2, 3, they shouted, moving from the shadows and springing into the fray. The skirmish erupted in a cacophony of confusion. Kayleigh charged into the melee with ferocity, using her agile form to weave between strikes. Evan swung the makeshift weapon, unaccustomed yet fierce in his movements, fighting beside her, empowered by the alliance they had forged. Kayleigh felt alive in a way she hadn't before. Their bodies melded in a dance of survival, the movements synchronized, the barrier of difference dissolving as they became one fighting force. But just as the tide seemed to shift in their favor, one of the assailants lunged forward, a sharp dagger aimed at Evan's side. Time slowed as Kayleigh's heart raced, her instincts overpowering her mind. "No!" Kayleigh shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos as she hurled her